Okay, hello again. Alright, today we're going to start a different visual novel. This one is Cursed Sight. Now this is a visual novel by Invert Mouse, and I know they've released a few. I don't remember if this got that great of ratings. This isn't terribly new, but I think it did come out in 2015. So it's not a super old one either. It's a Western-made one. So how about we start this one out and see what we end up getting here. Growing up poor, I had always watched with envy whenever kids in my neighborhood rode past on rickshaws. Today, I finally got my chance. I just wish the circumstances were a little different. The rickshaw clattered along the gravel path, giving me a headache. Of course, the driver had to make things worth with his off-tune humming. This place might be called Melody Way, but that gave him no right to offend the very essence of music. "We're almost there," the driver said without turning to face me. Eyes on the road, as they said. I would admire his professionalism, except he kept lowering the rickshaw for a breather. The drivers in my hometown could beat this guy in a race with one arm, but that was a thing of the past now. East Tarria was my new home, or prison more like. Mom and Dad, thank you for selling me to the temple. We love you more than anything in the world. Anything except for coins, it turned out. I bet they were spending that money for a holiday. Shit, man. They were sold off to a temple? That's kind of gotta really turn you. If you had parents and they decided to sell you off for money, whether you would end up having a better life and everything, and that's one of the reasons they might have sold you off for. They thought you could have a better life that way, or you gotta think maybe just money, and they didn't really explain the reasoning, and you didn't believe them, or whatever that can be. That's gotta ruin you for the rest of your life on never really giving a shit about your parents. Basically, you'd be like, yeah, my parents were shit, they sold me. Whether it truly would be slavery or not, still, selling someone, ownership of humans or other people is kind of, not really a thing that you can really be like, yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. You sold me. How did you come to own me to begin with? As the rickshaw drove along, I passed stall keepers, shouting discount offers for their fruits and veggies. When one of the shopkeepers had his eye turned, a couple of kids stole some apples from his basket. Such a thing would never happen back in West Tarria. Bells hung all around the houses on Melody Way, jingling under the breeze. This must be why people call East Tarria the City of Bells. The bells did sound soothing. At least for now. Give it a week and I would probably want to impale my eardrums with a toothpick. Either that or you'll get used to it. I mean, you think about you end up doing a certain thing after a while, you kind of forget that it even happens. Like, if you hear like a noise every single time, over and over and over, you either will get very annoyed of it, but I think even after that annoying part goes past, you'll start to forget that you even hearing it. And then it just becomes, oh yeah. You won't even notice. The rickshaw slowed as we approached a building ahead. Its size dwarfed that of any other structure on Melody Way. And this must be the East Tarrian Temple. East Tarria's symbol pattered the window frames as if to banish my Western origins. The driver put down his rickshaw. That will be 7 gold coins. I pulled out the purse Mun had given me from this ride. She left me 5 coins and the silver ones. No less. Love you too, Mom. I avoided the driver's gaze as I showed him the purse. Should have known better than to trust West Tarrians, the driver grumbled. Kid, I'm taking you to the guards. You're not paying me, so I'm taking you to the frickin' guards. The driver was right about me being a kid, but then he should be an adult and let things pass. Instead, he grabbed my wrist and tried to yank me off the rickshaw. I wriggled my hand to try and break free, but to him, I probably felt about as strong as a doubting cat. If the guards locked me up, I doubt my parents would bail me out. I heard executions were legal in East Taria. The thought made my legs go numb. I met the driver's gremlins with one of my own. King Locke had business with me. If you want your coins, go talk to him. The driver let go of me, and now it was his turn to dodge my gaze. If he troubled the king over such a trivial matter, the devil might take his head as compensation. The driver snatched away my coins, as well as the purse, pushed me off the rickshaw, mumbled a few curses, and drove away. I brushed dust off my pants in an attempt to look cool, but in truth, sweat had stained my palms despite the cold weather. I turned to face the road I had just passed. Despite all of this being my parents' fault, I still yearned to see them running after me, telling me how sorry they felt. They were, of course, nowhere in sight. I slapped my cheeks to snap out of it. Your new life started here, guy. I waded up to the temple doors, almost slipping on a rotten leaf on my way there. 2 guards stood bearing the temple's entrance. Their 6-foot stature allowed them to fit inside those heavy armor. The East Taria symbol on their shoulder plates reminded me they hailed from an unfamiliar culture. Well, how far of a difference is this East and Western Taria? Are they like cities that are right next to each other or something? Or are they actually pretty good distance away? Or are they like... That's what I'm wondering. I mean, how different could their culture be? Yeah. But I guess, depending on how big and how many people live in these, it could be more... Their cultures could be more like tribes, 2 tribes that have different things, type of things. That's how they sprouted up, pretty much. I swore the ground shook as one of the guards took a step toward me. The spear in his hand made me tremble. Those capes the guards wore fluttered in the wind, but these guys looked more like villains than heroes to me. Go big somewhere else, boys. The guard shook me off like a fly. A chance to explain myself would have been nice. I lifted my chin at the opportunity to show him up. King Locke invited me from West Taria to serve in his temple, I said. Right. A new slave, then. Name? Sure, apologetic. Accepted, jerk. Guy. The other guard chimed in. Ah, yes. The king told us you were arriving. He assigned you to help with looking after Mion. He exchanged chuckles with his colleagues. Sucks to be you, kid. In you go. Who's Mion? I waited to see if the guards would escort me. One of them dozed off on his feet, an ability he must have picked up during his years of service. The other guard filled his nails with his spear, just as the blacksmith had intended, no doubt. I stomped past him in an attempt to look tough, but I stepped too hard and rolled my ankle. As I limped past the front gates, I feared the guards might close them and squash me into a meat pie. Well, I guess, hey, you see this all the time, in like games and even movies and stuff. You got these guards guarding things and they get bored. Well, but what do you think? It is going to get pretty boring when you're just standing there, especially on days that probably nothing happens. You are standing there the whole entire time, literally doing nothing. It's going to get boring. No wonder one probably learned to fall asleep standing up. And the other one, what else is he going to do? Hey, it's perfect time for, messing with his nails there. I strolled through the garden before doing a full lap around the courtyard. There were several dozen doors around. I dared not enter a single one. I ducked under some of the lit windows in case anyone inside mistook me for a thief. With my head surveying back and forth, I soon bumped into a guard and fell onto my backside. The guard, still as a castle wall, tapped his spear against my chin. You picked the wrong place to rob, but I'm feeling generous, so crawl back to your little hole before I change my mind. His objective of not looking like a thief did not work very well. He he banged into a guard. He was hoping that no one in the windows on the other side would think him walking past, "That's a thief! Guards!" But instead he bumps into a guard. Looking suspicious, I bet. I no longer had a home, or hole, or whatever insult this scum wanted to hurl my way. He should just pierce my throat with the spear and be done with it. Guy, new servant. The guard clicked his tongue, but lowered his spear nonetheless. Follow me. At least he had the ever so wonderful heart to offer me guidance. I climbed back onto my feet and trailed him along the corridor, keeping an distance in case he decided my attitude warranted a spanking. Spanking? Why would he spank you? I mean, maybe he would smack you with the end of his spear, not the sharp end, but with the stick end, just smack you across the head or something. But I don't know why he would actually want to spank you. Spanking someone, though. Unless he liked little boys. The guard led me into a dressing room filled with suits and dresses that might be worth more than the house. A set of crumpled clothes sat on the carpet, looking completely out of place, smeared with dirt. They could easily pass as towels used to wipe the wooden floors. The guard snatched these rags off the carpet and shoved them into my arms. Go get changed, and hurry up about it. You're late. Already. Well, to be fair, I never expected to receive one of those expensive suits. I had that rickshaw driver to thank for my lateness. No point in explaining myself now, though. I shuffled into a change room in the corner and slid the curtain closed. After stripping off my clothes, I checked out these garments the guard had handed me. The standard Eastarian red from top to bottom, with Eastaria's symbol stitched behind the shirt. Suddenly the curtain slid open, and I blushed upon seeing the girl standing outside. Aside from my mother, not once had anyone from the opposite gender see me in the nude. I know how you feel, man. The first time I've had someone, walk in on me, it was kind of embarrassing. I remember that, actually, I had a co-ed floor back in college, and I actually had a neighbor girl open up the door while I was coming out of the shower. I still had my underwear on, but whew, that was kind of embarrassing. It's like, shit. I actually forgot why she came by, but yeah, that was kind of embarrassing. It's like, whoa, I did not lock the door. I was not expecting someone to just waltz in there. Or, to even think of locking the door. I mean, my roommate was always gone. This girl's clothes matched the ones I carried in my arms, so she too must be a servant. Those oversized pants she wore made her look about as feminine as a water barrel. Her pigtails could have looked cute, but those flies circling over her unwashed hair ruined the look. The girl's gaze lowered toward my pants, and they would have been if I had a pair on. She let out a sigh and walked out as if I had disappointed her somehow. Disappointed her. Was I not the victim here? Oh. I can only imagine what maybe she was sighing about. Oh, you got a small one. Bye. Apparently it's not the first time she's seen a penis. She doesn't seem very, embarrassed or anything herself. I yanked the curtain back closed. The force ripped the curtain off one of its hinges. I poked my head out to see if the guard had noticed. Good thing he had his head turned. Sniffing at a skirt on one of the coat hangers. Oh, the guard is sniffing clothes. It's probably like, ugh, oh, hopefully this smells like a girl. I quickly slipped on my shirt and pants to avoid another intimate encounter. The shirt's sleeves almost reached my fingertips, so I rolled them up and made my wrists look like spring rolls. I had mocked that girl's oversized pants earlier. Well, karma must be real, because they looked even bigger on me. I looked as if I had balloons crammed inside my pants. I can only imagine what these pants look like. A pair of shoes dropped in from under the curtains. I guess I had forgotten about them earlier. These shoes had bells tied to the front to couple each of my steps with a jingle. Put on my shoes, and with the single step I took out to enter the dressing room, the left one came off. Cursing under my breath, I thrust my foot back into the shoe before trying to walk again. This time, I dragged my shoes along the carpet and stopped them from sliding off. The heels still kept popping out, but it would have to do. I returned to the guard, who hurled away the skirt he had been sniffing. He glared at me as if it was my fault he failed to keep his fetishes behind closed doors. At the moment, you just don't say a thing. Just act like you did not notice. Just be like, okay. Guard swirled around and stomped out of the dressing room. I assumed I was meant to follow him, so I did just that. The guard muttered complaints all the way to the end of the corridor. Man, all these guards who guard this place just seem to be upset people. I stood before a set of doors embroidered in gold. The Ystaria's symbol sat in the middle, glittering under the sunlight. Whoever resided behind these doors must be mighty important, so that ruled out any chance of this being my bedroom. The guard pointed at the doors. This is Mion's room. Get in there and introduce yourself. Before I could ask any questions, the guard trotted off with a shudder. This Mion character scared even a grown man, and now I must step in alone. Remind me to never send Mom and Dad any postcards. I looked down at my East Tarian garb. If I snuck out of the temple now, I could fit into the crowd, but with no way of earning a coin, I'd be forced to steal food like those children I saw earlier. I reached for the doors with my trembling hands. Just as I was about to knock, I heard muffled yells coming from the other end. Something, or someone, banged against the door from inside, making me dart back. Was Mion inside that room right now? I foresaw meeting an 8-foot mammoth that dined on servants' limbs as a pastime. After whispering farewell to my arms and legs, I slid the doors open. Oh my, we're going to see what's on the other side. 3 bodies rolled out and crashed into my shins, making me stumble. The bodies untangled just enough for me to see a middle-aged woman with 2 guards wrestling to keep her under control. Upon spotting a knife in the woman's hand, I crawled away until my back hit the wall. The woman struggled to break free from the guard's grip. Give me back my boy, you monster! Oh shit, we got a woman, guards, and a struggle going on in this room. Looks like the woman has a knife. Wants to kill probably this Mion character that we do not know yet. Apparently, this person's a monster. Well, according to her. I followed that woman's eyes to see who she was addressing. A woman? Is that Mion? A girl sat on her knees in the middle of the room. She had both her hands resting on her lap as if unaware of the chaos unfolding before her. The hat she wore came attached with a veil, but she should still be able to see what's going on. This girl sat on a carpet with an Ystaria symbol that almost covered the entire room. Considering the doors outside looked so fancy, this room was much smaller than I anticipated. On the far end of it was a veranda with railings that reminded me of prison bars. Cabinets filled the walls on either side of the room. Circular handles resembled eyes spying in from another dimension. The guards lifted that knife-wielding woman onto her feet. Mion is Ystaria's treasure. By the king's order, you're under arrest. The woman thrashed and screamed as the guards hauled her away. So this girl must be Mion. Judging from her height, she must be no older than 10. Wow, she's pretty young. Around my age, in other words. Why should I be scared of some kid? Well, there must be a reason that woman wanted to kill her. And the guards are protecting her, so maybe she is someone you should be scared of. You never know. I had no idea if Mion was looking at me, thanks to the veil covering her face. As I edged toward her room, smoke came out of nowhere to sting my eyes. I gazed down and spotted incense burning in front of Mion's knees. Waving the smoke off my face, I stepped through the doors. The bells on Mion's hat clanged as she looked up. She also had this large bell tied around her neck like a collar on a pet. Mion tilted her head, perhaps startled by my unfamiliar face. The guard did order me to introduce myself, so I might as well. The name's Guy. Mion slumped onto the floor. Did she finally fall unconscious from the shock earlier? Talk about a delayed reaction. I worried for Mion's well-being, but more important, I feared for mine. The guards thought I had harmed her in any way. Well, I had a good run. Mion opened her mouth and spoke to me for the first time. Blankets. Third cabinet to the left. Oh. What? Did my introduction suck so much that she would rather go to sleep? Shaking my head, I walked up to the third cabinet on the left wall. I pulled the door open and indeed found a blanket tucked inside. Even the blanket had gold patterns running along its edges. What a spoiled brat. Well, how do you know she's a spoiled brat? You don't know anything about her. Just because there is, stuff around, how do you know? You know nothing about this person. You literally know anything other than her name. You know nothing. You can't just call someone a spoiled brat. You never know. You are there to serve. You can't really call that, spoiled if they ask you to serve. I mean, that is what you're there for. So they're going to use you. After flicking off a worm crawling on top, I pulled out the blanket and threw it over Mion, covering her from head to toe. Cannot breathe, came her muffled voice. Yeah. I lowered the blanket down to her neck. Her breathing seemed steady, but with that veil on, I had no way of knowing if she had fallen asleep. Hey, Mion, I whispered as a test, but received no response. Stupid, fat, ugly Mion. Still nothing. She sure fell asleep fast, considering someone tried to stab her only moments ago. You just tried to insult her, calling her stupid, fat, and ugly. Damn, this little kid has some balls. As I exited the room, Mion's voice came trailing after me. Never speak to me that way again. She heard you! I do it, she freaking heard you! She has an odd reaction, though. Her reactions and stuff just seems to be delayed or something, and you're right on her, delayed. I mean, she took her a little while to reply. And why were you exiting the room for? Just be like, hey, I'm just gonna leave now. Little kid doesn't really give a shit about himself. No wonder no one gives a shit about you. You can't even just sit there and wait until you're being told something to do. Oh crap. So, she did hear. I stepped out and shut the doors behind me. That knife-wielding lady from earlier had disappeared from view, replaced by a trio of servants sweeping the corridor. All three of them swung their brooms in sync as if they had no consciousness of their own. After I introduced myself to the servants, they shared with me the daily joys of being a slave. Testing food for poisoning, battling venomous spiders, you name it. Watch out, world, for my future shone brightly as the sun on a stormy night. Okay, that looks like that was the prologue part of it. Born with the cursed sight. Treasure of a nation. That looks like prologue. Usually it's prologue stuff before there's little, videos like this. Usually it's just, So, characters. We're seeing characters. Well, who is she? Who are these shadowy figures we just seen? Outlines of, I should say. I wonder if the dude that we saw that was sitting on that throne's the bad guy or something in the story or something like that. The king or whatever they called him. I forgot what they called him. I think it was king. I don't remember. Night came, and a servant escorted me into a storage room crammed with sleeping servants as well as crawling bugs. Stacked against the walls were boxes that piled up to the ceiling. I prayed they were empty, otherwise, if these boxes collapsed, the temple guards would have would be having servant pancakes for breakfast. This place reeked of dust as well as sweat. I bet half of these servants never even bothered to shower before hitting the sack. So, which bed is mine? I asked the servant who had led me here. Any of them. Yeah, should have known. A bedshed near me appeared to be unused, so just as I reached for it, another servant swooped in and snatched it from my hands. What? Did you write your name on it? I asked, gritting my teeth to refrain from punching him. You're freaking like what? You just said you're like 10 years old. I don't know how old this other servant is, but if it was a grown servant, I don't think he would be scared of you punching him. He'd probably pick you up and throw you. With a scowl, the servant pointed at a wet patch on the bedsheet. Did this guy pee on it as a marking? Oh, okay, my bad then. I peed on this bedsheet, it's mine! We're animals, we're animals! These bedsheets were so thin that they might as well not be there at all. Anyway, but everybody had one, so I felt uneasy being the odd one out. I spotted another unused bedsheet in the corner. This time, I dove at it to ensure nobody would beat me to my prize. Maybe I should pee or spit on it as well just to be safe. Oh, just seeing them peeing on their own little bedsheet is kind of disgusting. Kind of makes them just like a group of animals or something. I crawled into the bedsheet, and before I could even close my eyes, a pair of mosquitoes buzzed around my ear. Shaking my head, I rolled to one side and covered my ear with the bedsheet. It muffled the buzzing somewhat, I suppose. After shutting my eyes, fatigue took over and I collapsed into sleep, which meant that the mosquitoes scored themselves a real feast. Approaching footsteps called the wooden floor to creak. A hand gripped my shoulder and nudged me awake. I opened my eyes and found a servant with his face far too close to mine for my liking. Hey, go sweep the king's throne room, he said. Cool. Good morning to you too. But I checked the schedule last night. I'm supposed to help prepare for breakfast, I said. Well, the schedule just changed. I'll prepare breakfast in your stead. The servant dropped a broom into my hands. I bet he just wanted to steer clear of the king and decided to pick on the new guy. I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like the servants are not very friendly with each other. I think all of them have probably haven't been treated that well and probably have been sold off, and a lot of them probably have anger issues and they don't really know how to talk to other people and they don't trust the other people. I think that's what it comes down to, because it's kind of like fend for oneself type of thing with these servants probably. It's like they get their hands on something, they get their hands on something. Wouldn't be surprised if he tried to steal your food. Next. He thought I could be pushed around easily. Well, he might be right, because I got up to do as ordered. Best to avoid trouble until I knew my way around. Speaking of which, where's the throne room anyway? The servant rolled his eyes and pointed to our set of doors at the end of the hallway. By the way, there's a trial going on, so no need to lock. Just do your job and keep out of sight. I bumped shoulders with the servant on my way out of the storage room. A thank you would have been nice, but I wouldn't have better luck waiting for the sky to rain gold coins. As I stalked toward the throne room, I scratched my swollen arm and neck. Those mosquitoes really showed no mercy last night. These bites in between my fingers made me want to light the storage room on fire. I arrived outside the king's chamber. The pair of doors here looked bigger than the ones Mion had. Did that mean the king was even weirder than Mion? Weirder? If so, I might be better off turning into mosquito food back in that storage room. The doors groaned as I pulled them open, destroying any hope I had of being discreet. After taking a deep breath, I walked in. Yep, the dude in the video that I said, it looks like he's the king after all. On the throne. I wonder if he's the bad guy. Seems like he'd be an evil character, the way he's like darkened out somewhat. There he was, at the end of the room, the king of Eastaria, He sat behind a curtain that stretched from wall to wall, but his silhouette alone made my legs quiver. Stone pillars formed a line evenly on either side, holding the ceiling in place. Paintings of men and women with crowns hung on these pillars. They must be the kings and queens from past generations. The knife-wielding lady from yesterday stood on a red carpet before the king. A couple of guards blocked the path behind her. One of them kicked the back of her knee, forcing her to kneel in front of the king. I wonder if, the king here is going to be like, "Off with your head! You're dead! I sentence you to death!" Or is she going to, like, die right here in the king's chamber area, or whatever you want to call us? I spotted bruises on the woman's arms, and her gray locks looked more roughed up than yesterday, too. The guards must have abused her before this trial even began. One of the guards glanced toward me as if he had read my thoughts. My heart thudded as I carried on with brooming the floor. Pay me no heed, folks. I just work here. "King Locke, here's the woman who assaulted Mion," one of the guards said. The woman bowed until her forehead touched the carpet. "Mion's cursed my boy to his death. I ask only for justice." "Mion's power is common knowledge among our nation," Locke said. "Your son knowingly flipped her veil open." Oh shit. So she curses people who see her like face or her eyes or something. Probably like you look her in the eyes and they probably because this thing says cursed sight, so it's like looking her in the eyes and you get cursed or something to death or some sort of thing like that. He said Mion's power was common knowledge, but I for one knew nothing about it. Did that woman's kid die from gazing into Mion's eyes? That's what I was wondering. The mother began to sob. "My boy was only 8. Of course he'd be curious. We should have that monster blindfolded or blinded altogether." Locke drummed his fingers across his armrest. "Foolishness. Cover Mion's eyes and we seal her powers as well. She's more valuable to the nation than all of your aunts put together." Even the guards traded frowns upon hearing those words. These guards had been treating me like a sewage rat, and now the king just cast them into my category. "Welcome to the sewers, folks. Hope you like the smell," said this woman to the guillotine. And the king said, "She shall serve as an example to our nation." With brows still arched, the guards lifted the woman by her armpits. As they dragged her away, I thought she would beg for mercy, but all she did was smile. "There's no need to feel alone, sweetie. Mama's coming to you soon." She snapped. Maybe she wants to die. Well, it seems like it. At the moment, she basically was saying, like, kill me. Just kill me already. As I left the room, I squeezed the broom's handle to stop my hands from shaking. These Tarja meant business when it came to their treasure. Yesterday I threw a blanket over Mion's face and called her names. If she had reported it, I might have been killed. I don't know why you called her names. The blanket thing, I don't think would have been a big issue, but I think you had some real guts to call someone you had no freaking idea names. "Doc, I might have developed a case of Mionphobia. From now on, I must keep a distance from her at all times. Maybe I should get a fishing rod to hand her things from afar." Tears welled in my eyes as the face of my parents surfaced in my mind. "You still thinking of your parents that sold you?" I guess, hey, if they're your parents after all, I guess it's kind of hard to forget, even if they were frickin' jerks. I wiped a sleeve across my eyelids. No way would I miss the 2 people who had sold me here. I did, however, worry for my baby sister. She played no part in any of this. You have a little sister? I wonder what my parents would tell her when she grew up. They might say I died in an accident, or simply claimed I never existed. The thought made me tear up again. I clenched my fist to raise away my sadness with anger. I mean, depending on how old she is, they might never say a word. I mean, it'd probably be easier than them saying, "You had a little brother, but he is dead." They might just never mention that you ever existed. That's probably where it'd come to. They wouldn't even say a word. It all depends on how old she is. If she was a baby, I doubt she ever will truly when she gets old enough and able to talk. Hey, where's my brother? My mind seemed to be all over the place this morning. I blamed it on my lack of sleep. Maybe I should go hide in the change room and sneak in a quick nap. I heard bells ringing in the main hall, a series of jingles strung together to produce a soothing melody. Curiosity won me over, and I headed for the hall to take a peek. It's probably Mion. No, it's that other girl we saw in the picture or whatever. She has bells on her. I wonder what her role in this story is. A woman was dancing alone on the stage. She had dozens of bells tied around her arms, and as she twirled, these bells produced music that echoed across the room. My parents had once told me about these performers, bellstresses, I believe they were called. East Taria's emblem occupied the back wall, partially obscured by a pair of red pillars. Potted plants formed a circle around the stage and executed fragments that enveloped the hall. Several other servants slacked off from their duties to watch the performance, but most of them paid this bellstress no attention, so I guess she must be a regular here. A group of 10 people watched this performance from the front row. The men wore suits ironed from many times over, while a woman donned earrings almost as big as their heads. They must be the bellstress' real audience. Once the bellstress finished her act, she bowed at the applauding crowd. The guard then walked in to greet the guests. He was all smiles as he escorted them off to another area of the temple. These rich folks probably gave the guard tips on their way out. I could think of no other explanation for his friendliness. Heck, if I too had coins to spare, I could make the guards play fetch, lick my shoes, and call me Master Guy. I don't know if they'd do that for you, man. You're just a little kid. I don't think they're that desperate, you know. I wouldn't play fetch for you if you were a little kid. You'd have to have some real power to do that. He's kind of cute. I kind of like the art for this. It's not too bad. The art doesn't seem that bad in this. As the bellstress stepped down from the stage, I heard footsteps running toward her. Even without turning to look, the ringing bells told me it was Mion. She ran pretty fast for someone who was too lazy to take out her own blanket. Why are you calling her lazy? You're a servant. Whether you really believe it's lazy or not, that is your job. You know, just saying, oh, you're too lazy to get your own thing, that's why you're there. You're just automatically thinking they're lazy, when that is what you're there for, is to serve. If you're there to serve, and why not take advantage of such a thing? Can't just automatically say, okay, there's a servant there, they should go and get their own thing. Well, doesn't mean they will. Doesn't mean they have to either. Doesn't mean they should. The servant's there, and that's part of the servant's job. Whether that is their job freely of their own free will or not is a whole different thing. Mion dove into the bellstress's arms, almost bowing her over. Sasa, Sasa! They must know each other. Having heard about Mion's cursed sight, I would scream if she clung that close to me. Either the Sasa lady knew nothing about the curse, or she was feeling real lucky. Or maybe there's more to the relationship than you know. Maybe she's not afraid. Just because you're afraid, don't mean that others are afraid. Mion, smile when you say hi, remember? Sasa reached under Mion's veil to pinch her cheeks and curled them into a smile. Can you come tonight? Mion slurred. I'm trying to figure out or can you come tonight? Okay. Mion slurred. Sasa let off her cheeks so she could speak properly. Can you come tonight, please? Oh, that's why she was slurring. Alright. Can you come tonight? Alright. Sasa patted Mion's hat. Just for a bit, okay? Mion nodded frantically, making the bells on her hat chime in protest. After giving Sasa a hug, Mion retreated back toward her room. Sasa spun to leave. Our eyes met for a moment. The shimmering stage lights made her hair and skin glisten. Sasa beamed at me, and my cheeks flushed as I averted my gaze. This really annoyed me sometimes, to be honest. You're just a little boy, you know nothing about girls. You're probably in that stage of, ew, icky, girls. Well, time to go clean Mion's room. Keep it cool, guy. Avoid eye contact and live to slave another day. Alright then. Time to pull these doors open. Mion opened her mouth the second I entered her room. Earlier, her chat with Sasa must have put her in a talkative mood. 3 oranges, 1 smaller than the others, Mion said. 2 apples, 4 pears, cold water, 15 incense sticks, 2 half burned. I gave her a blank stare in return. Go on, Mion said. Her commanding tone scared me into stumbling out of the room. She had no reason to throw such a random list at my face, unless it was to toy with me. I should instead return with 3 pieces of animal turds, 1 from yours sincerely, a bottle of piss, and 3 jars of roaches. Dude, man, stop acting like a little freaking asshole. Little kid, I know you're sold and you're a slave, but if you don't act like a little asshole, I think your life might be slightly better. You're just a little kid. I don't think you're not going to be getting out of this by yourself, unless you try to sneak out. And as you said, you probably had that ability of sneaking out, but you would have no money. A fellow servant walked by the corridor, and I asked him just what kind of drugs Mion had been taking. The fruits and stuff? Those are for her rituals, the servant said. He shrugged at my confused face. You must be new here, I'm guessing. Mion regularly performs spells that can change the future. If Mion truly possessed such power, that would explain why Locke treasured her so much. Whatever, some fruits, water, and a bunch of incense. Got it. The servant leaned in, as if frightened Mion might hear from the inside her room. Mion's real fussy about her numbers. You should ask her again and listen more closely. Alright, he's warning you. He's basically saying, go back in there, tell her you forgot what you wanted. Remember, if you have to write it down, do it. Or I guess he probably doesn't have anything to write it with, but remember it and get the hell and get her things. 'Cause remember, if she really wanted to curse you, she could just lift up that veil and look you in the face herself. And you know the king wouldn't do anything. And everyone else would be scared of her. I doubt they would be up for doing anything as well. That meant I needed to speak with Mion one more time. Just great. When I walked back into Mion's room and asked her to repeat the list, as expected, she lectured me about my lack of attention. After picking my self-esteem off the carpet, I headed out to collect what Mion had asked for. I then turned to place the fruit basket, water bowl, and incense tray in front of her. There. You're welcome. The fruits and incense are placed the wrong way around. These are the basics. They said Mion had the cursed sight. Maybe I should show her my cursed mouth. A torrent of insults threatened to spew out, and I barely managed to swallow them back in. And I don't really like this little kid. Even I would be annoyed of this little kid. He seems like one of those little asshole kids who think they're all that, even though they're just a little kid. Oh, Mistress Mion, please forgive this humble servant for not possessing such common knowledge. I swapped the fruits and incense around, because Mion sure showed intent of moving them herself. No, you could have just asked her how. I mean, you don't know. I mean, that's basically how it comes to you. You don't have to ask like an idiot. I mean, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she has many people come in there and she doesn't know that you're that new. Oh, what was that noise? Oh. Mion leaned toward the bowl and whispered a chant. The water began to swirl inside the bowl. The fruits I had prepared also bounced and rolled inside their basket. Eventually, the entire floor started to shake, forcing me to lean against the wall for support. Damn, her powers must be real! Maybe I should run from the room, but if this ritual could put me at life's risk, Mion would have warned me about it. And I don't know, you never know. Oh, wait. Mion cared for me about as much as someone might worry about a pillow. Silly me, that's what I was thinking. Now, I don't know if she would warn you. A minute later, Mion ceased her chants, and the fruits finally settled. And the floor had also stopped shaking, but my niece continued to quake out of fear. 3 days of rain starting from tonight, Mion said. That should help the farmers with their crops. I guess she was predicting the results of her ritual. Mion slipped a hand under the veil to massage her temple. Her lips looked as pale as her sweet, stained cheeks. I pointed at the bowl of water sitting before her. Maybe you should take a sip. It'll make you feel better. Mion rubbed her temple harder, as if my words have worsened her headache. This sacred water belongs to the goddesses. Learn some respect. Actually, I filled that bowl from a tap in the kitchen. Fine. So, Mion had powers. But that gave her no right to mock me. Next time, I should scoop up some toilet water for Mion and her goddesses. Damn, man, if I knew what was going through your head, man, I'd kick your ass, you little boy. If you wanted to do that shit to me, I'd be like, what, you don't know shit about me? You don't know your place, or any of that other stuff. Apparently, you just want to be treated like shit if you want to treat other people like shit. To me, she was just telling you that no, she can't drink from the water because she believes it is, you know, holy water, basically. She just go like, okay. No reason to get all upset about it. Just go, alright. No reason to get all upset or angry or anything about nothing. Because literally that's what you're getting mad about. Nothing. Just as I considered arguing, I'm back. Someone knocked on the door. That must be Sasa. Mion leaped to her feet, spilling the bowl of water. I guess those goddesses she spoke of would have to lick that sacred water off the carpet now. Mion yanked the doors open, and on the other side stood Sasa. A lady should act more gentle, Sasa chuckled, patting Mion's hat. As Mion pulled Sasa into the room once again, Sasa and I crossed gazes. No need to worry about him. He's new here, Mion said. Oh, so she does know he's new. Sure, just treat the new guy like one of those lanterns hanging around the veranda. Servants had no feeling or anything, right? Sasa grinned. Lucky you, Mion. He has a pretty cute face. Oh, look at those eyes. They went like, ooh. I know she's just teasing Mion. My face heated up like, well, like one of those lanterns hanging along the veranda. Like I said, girls really annoyed me sometimes. Oh, they're just joking with each other. Mion puffed her cheeks. He's so silly, though. Just now, he asked me to drink the sacred water. Sasa was the first person to smile at me in this temple. I wanted nothing more than to give her a good impression. Thank you, Mion. Blessing you for crushing my one and only dream. Sasa tapped a finger over her lip. Oh my, drinking the water is forbidden? I had no idea. Either. How foolish of me. Mion waved her hands nervously. That's not foolish. I mean, it's understandable, I think. As I giggled at the sight of Mion flustering, Sasa gave me a wink. This lady and I would get along just fine. Sasa lowered onto her knees and Mion climbed onto her lap before resuming her ramble. I saw a roach in my room this morning. It was orange, I swear. I tried catching it so I can show you, but it flew out the window. Sasa pulled a comb from her pocket and used it to straighten Mion's pigtails. Girls shouldn't be running around picking up bugs. Did you catch them when you were little? Mion asked. Well, yes, I did. Oh, Mion continued. And I heard King Locke singing in the toilet yesterday. It's really funny how he's singing in the toilet. Girls, they're just gossiping. She's just gossiping now. Oh, guess what? I heard the king singing in the toilet. Sasa nodded and gave occasional replies as Mion continued to flap her gums. Mion let out a few yawns while she talked. She put a hand over her mouth to hold them back, but each yawn came out louder than the last. Sasa massaged Mion's shoulders. The king told me you had to perform a ritual today. You better get some sleep. Mion climbed off Sasa's lap and shook her head. I must admit, her pouting face made my heart stir just a little, mind you. Sasa rose and put her hands under her hips. A girl needs her beauty sleep. Shot me a glance. That's how you make the boys fall for you. Oh! Who needs boys? Mion clung onto Sasa's arm. I'm going to marry you, Sasa. Oh, so Mion. Oh, she goes that way. She likes the ladies. She is young still. We don't have an exact age. Our one guy just said she looked about 10, so we can only assume about around that age she is, so she is still pretty young. She could be in pretty much the same position that he's in. Ew, boys! You know. Sasa rubbed her forehead against Mion's ear. Stop being silly and go to sleep. I fell for your cute act last time, but it's not happening again. Mion let a whining noise that made me want to hug her. Eventually, she related and gave a nod. I took that as a sign for me to pull out her blanket from the closet. Of course, she scrunched her lips at me for trying to help. Sasa tucked Mion into bed and held her hand until she fell asleep, which only took about a minute. Those rituals must really take a lot out of her. With Mion asleep, I puffed my chest out to try and look manly. You're a little kid. You can look that manly. Let me escort you to the temple gates. I hated my voice for cracking as those words came out. Oh my, what a gentleman. Sasa pinched me on the cheek. Her fingers felt so slender and warm. I wonder if she would let me sit on her lap too. As I guided Sasa through the corridors, the silence gnawed at me. I tried to strike up a conversation. You know about Mion's eyes? I heard they're cursed or something. Not sure if it's real or not, though. Dear voice, please stop crackling from just one sentence. It's real, said Sasa said. Anyone who gazes into her eyes will die in the same week. Her parents were the first victims. I was hoping Sasa would laugh at me for believing such a myth, but now I regretted asking at all. Boy, I sure know how to charm ladies with my choice of topics. I should have talked about how those garden flowers were no match for her beauty. Sasa spun around and faced me. You never asked for those powers. Please, treat her like you would anyone else. She cupped my hand in both of hers. Her voice sounded softer than usual, and her serious tone forced me to nod. As Sasa looped her arms around me, her aroma and warmth made my head swirl. If Mion wanted to marry Sasa, she would have to fight me first. I thought you said you didn't like little girls. They found them. You didn't like girls, but you're falling for this one. He doesn't know what he likes. That's what it comes to. That's all I ask, guy. Sasa said, the first person to smile at me in East Taria, and now the first to address me by name too. Just 10 more years until I become an adult. Please, Sasa, lock yourself in the time capsule and wait for me. Oh, what's this falling from the sky? Sasa let go of me, and as we resumed walking, she donned a smile that outshone the lanterns hanging overhead. If I had known it would snow, I would have worn more clothes. When Sasa said those words, I surveyed up and down at her clothing. She narrowed her eyes at me. Did your mind just go into the gutter? You wanted a second look after she said that. I'd be like, wait, how much clothes are you not wearing? Oh. What? No, I peered out at the snow to hide my red face from Sasa. Considering the cold weather here, I should have known it would snow once in a while. Whenever it snowed back home, I used to build snowmen and stick carrots at the top of the nose. If I dared to steal a carrot here, the guards might cut off my finger and use that for the snowman nose instead. There's the gates, I said. Good night, Miss Sasa. Sasa slapped me across the back. Cut that Miss stuff out. But good night, guy. You know what? I think that is a good place to end this one off here. I kind of like that little art that they showed right there. It's kind of a nice little thing. I think we completed a chapter or something right there. Alright, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. This has a lot of story dialogue of, like, setting up areas in this one. Definitely a lot of that. Not as much conversation dialogue, but a lot of dialogue on what's going on at this point in time. I will say I do like the art. The art isn't that bad. A lot of red, though. There's a lot of red and purplish color. A lot of shades of, like, on the red spectrum. Further closer to that end of the spectrum of colorings. So far, I think it's I don't think this would be a love story or anything like that. I don't know how the story's going to play out. It's really hard to tell so far. Well, guys, I want to thank you for watching this. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. If you want to stay up to date on this new series of videos, feel free to subscribe. As well as stay up to date on plenty of my other videos. In the description box, I will have a link to where you can check out this game, as well as a link where you can check out the rest of my stuff. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching. You all have a great day.